£10,000 isn't just a number, it is much more than that. When you reach £10,000 in savings, it's not just about the money, it's what that money actually represents. To get there, you will have to sacrifice something, which means you're already on your way here. You built up some momentum, developed good habits, and those are only going to serve you well from this moment onwards. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why everything changes when you reach £10,000 saved, and why it's more important than just a savings goal, it's the launch pad for you for bigger things. So first up, redefining your goals. Now, a lot of gurus out there will tell you to work out your financial freedom number and start working towards it. Now, I don't disagree with them at all, but what they forget is that these large numbers in our mind, like 500,000 or 1 million, feel so far away that it's pretty inconceivable for us to actually think about even getting there. We all know that when we set our sights on something too big, we either just give up entirely or just get overwhelmed along the way and don't do anything about it. Now, I'm a big fan of making goals a lot smaller to begin with, especially when we're starting out, or maybe have a couple of grand saved up first off, for example. Now, £10,000 itself could seem like a big number, and it is for a lot of people. So what I would do is I would break this down again. If you struggled with saving before, likely to be many of you guys listening to this, as over 66% of the UK have under £1,000 saved, then just getting the first £1,000 together is somewhere to start. We're aiming to put a positive loop around our money and turn this into a bit of a game, and a game that we can actually win. So break down that 10,000 however you like. It could look like this, for example. Goal number 1, £1,000. Goal number 2, £2,500. Goal number 3, £5,000. Goal number 4, £7,500. Goal number 5 is that £10,000. If I turned around to you and said, I'm challenging you to save £1,000 rather than £10,000, you could probably go, yeah, I can do that. The length of time will differ depending on your salary and your current situation, of course, but £1,000 is doable for anyone watching this video. Now, all that changes is your expectation, saving £1,000 first, and then we're going to need to think about saving £1,500 once we have saved the first grand to reach that £2,500. You see how it immediately feels a lot easier just by me saying it. Now, I do this with all my goals. I have a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal, and an ultimate goal, but they're broken down into smaller achievable chunks, sometimes into 5, sometimes into 3 steps. It depends on how much I can actually contribute each month towards them. I do that because I need wins along the way. It fuels me and it drives me on to the next level. Now, next up, I want to show you why £10,000 changes everything by breaking the numbers down. So let's take the average UK salary excluding London of £32,000. That's roughly £2,180 a month. Straight away, we can see that £10,000 would be roughly 5 months of living expenses. Now, 5 months is a long time. It's enough time to reset your life completely, in my opinion. Now, for many people, £10,000 is enough to cover 3 to 6 months of essential bills, rent, utilities, and groceries. This is where the concept of a true emergency fund comes in. With £10,000 in the bank, you bought yourself time in the event of a job loss or unexpected expenses. You've given yourself the breathing room to make thoughtful decisions rather than panicking or worse, spiraling back into debt. Think about the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you're actually prepared for unexpected life events. No more sleepless nights worrying about how you can pay the bills if something goes wrong. Instead, you've actually got a safety net, a buffer that actually keeps you from going backwards. Now let's tuck in a touch further, taking the average UK salary. Again, that's £2,180. Realistically, if you cut back on all your expenses, so let's say with rent and bills and basic food, if you stayed at home and didn't go out, you exercise in the garden, that sort of thing, let's say you managed to cut that back to £1,400 a month just to get by here. That's now 7 months of expenses, over half a year of pure security. What would that feel like to you? Even if you're earning 50 grand, for example, which is actually roughly £3,200 a month. If you cut back expenses to say £2,500, that's still 4 months of security right there if you really need it. Now, the power of £10,000 is unrivaled in my opinion, and I think it is the first goal that everyone should be working towards before thinking about anything else. Next up, I want to talk about something which is hugely important in this conversation, and that is the choice and freedom. Now, quality of life is so important. When we don't have it, we're legitimately miserable. Sometimes we don't even know it, but when we have it, we often take it for granted. Now, £10,000 isn't about being rich. You might feel rich in some way, but we're not rich at this point. But what we do have is choice. But what do I actually mean by that? Well, let's say you're unhappy in your current job. In fact, a recent study showed that 9 out of 10 people in the UK currently don't like the job that they work in. So that's most of you guys watching. Maybe it's draining your energy, or perhaps it's not giving you the growth opportunities that you need. Perhaps you've got an absolute arsehole of a boss that you'd love to give a slap round the chops to, but of course you can't. Well, in this case, as we've seen by the numbers, if you had £10,000 saved, you could take a step back. You could turn around to your arsehole boss and say, nah mate, do you know what, I'm done. Why? Well, because you have a safety net there. It's giving you choice. Now, when I work with people one-on-one, they always go, oh yeah, emergency fund, blah, 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 because everyone thinks investing is the sexy bit. But trust me, getting the first £10,000 together is the sexiest bit. Now, everyone I know that's done it has messaged me to tell me how liberated that they feel. They walk differently with a bit of swagger, knowing that they have that safety net. And it's not just about switching careers in this case. This money could be used to invest in yourself, taking a course, develop a new skill, traveling to broaden your horizons, or even starting a passion project you've always wanted to pursue. Now, going back to the job thing, when you have savings in place, you are not forced to take the first job that comes along just because you need the money.
You're hired. Shit.
You can actually be more selective, more strategic, and ultimately more satisfied with the choices that you make. Now, next, let's talk about the base to build from and what £10,000 really represents once you actually get there. Now, for me, it's a solid foundation to build from. This is basically your launch pad. Now, we will need to alter our goals simply because we've smashed this one. But you should be doing this once a year anyway, in my opinion, but now we need to go for something bigger. In my opinion, I would like to set yourself something a little bit harder here, something like £25,000 or £30,000. So it's a little harder to get, but still very achievable, as you'll know from working towards your initial 10K. You've proven you can save. You've developed the discipline, and now we want to start growing our money even more. I would keep this £10,000 stashed away somewhere like a cash ISA or a high interest savings account. Why? Well, because it's for emergencies, and so we want access to the money quickly should we need it. We don't want to take risks with it because it's our backup funds. We want to earn interest on it so it also starts making us some money too. The next phase for us isn't just the money sitting in a savings account. Now we've done the hardest part, which is securing ourselves, and trust me, that is the hardest part because it's new habits that we're having to form here. The next step is about investing our money. The reason being is we're now secure. Now we want to grow our money exponentially, and I'm going to tell you why. If you get 4% in interest a year from your bank but inflation is at 2%, your money is growing in real terms by 2% a year, not 4%. 2% isn't going to get us a comfortable retirement or the ability to retire early, which is what we should try and set ourselves up for next. Now, if you're new to investing, it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can set yourself up a stocks and shares ISA and invest into a simple index fund like a global tracker or an S&P 500 fund. This means you're investing into the largest companies on the planet and investing essentially into human progress rather than having to spend time learning about how to pick stocks, for example. These index funds will track the top performing companies, and so all you need to do is put the same amount you were saving before into investing now. You can expect an average of around about 9 to 10% from these funds based on past performance since the stock market's inception, which is a lot higher than the 4% that we're currently getting from our savings. But of course, it does come with a bit of risk. So it's very important to say that any money you contribute to this environment should be invested, in my opinion, for a minimum of 10 years, ideally longer. Why? Well, when you invest for 10 years or longer, the money you place in has under 1% chance of losing money, and that was a study done recently by investing firm Schroders. That's an extremely low chance, and if you do it every month for long periods of time, it can grow exponentially, and I'm going to show you why with the magic of compounding. For this, I'm going to take the average UK salary, which is including London this time, which is £35,000. Our net salary is roughly £2,355 a month. I'm going to show you the difference between saving and investing to get us saved from £0 to £100,000. For this, we're going to be looking to contribute at least 15% of our salary, and this would leave us with £353, but let's call it £350. When it comes to saving, we're currently getting 5% on savings from our banks, but this is likely to come down in the near future, so I'm going to base it on that 4% interest that we were talking about earlier. So to get to £100,000, if we're saving it, we'd have saved £70,350 in contributions and earned £29,950 in interest from the banks. And drumroll, it would take us a cool 16 years and 9 months to get there. However, if you invested the money into a simple global index fund, your average would be closer to that 10% that we were just discussing. And that would get us there in 12 years and 2 months, which is a whole 4 years and 7 months faster. Now, if you extend that time frame out to 25 years, the difference is absolutely wild. If you saved £350 and got that 4% back from it, you'd have £129,000 at the end of the 25 years. You'd have contributed £75,000 and got £54,000 in interest. But if you invested it and got 10% average return, you'd have £330,000. You still have contributed 75 grand, but your investment would have grown in value by £260,000, which is £201,000 difference. That's a big difference. So it's something you do need to consider. Once you hit that £10,000, you're essentially secure, and then you move out of securing myself phase and into the wealth building phase. Now, I think the perfect video to follow on from this is how to turn the average salary into millions. It's coming up now on your screens, and I'll see you over there so we can continue learning about how to grow our cash together. See you over there, and peace out, guys.